All right, peace, y'all. I didn't really do no preparation on this one. I just wanted to speak on this real quick because I just got off the phone with one of my relatives talking about this ASAP Rocky thing. So I guess apparently ASAP Rocky, for those that don't know, is in jail in Sweden or something somewhere. And people are reminding him of a while ago when he made some statements talking about, what do you call that? Talking about Black Lives Matter. And I should have already had them pulled up, but I want to pull those up real quick because I want to talk about why I was happy that he made the statements in the first place. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the statements from this XXL magazine thing. So I guess apparently he was asked about Black Lives Matter. I wish I had the question exactly before. I don't have it right now. I wish I had that exact question. But he was asked about Black Lives Matter. Oh, okay, now I'm live. He was asked about Black Lives Matter, and he said, basically the quote is, why? Because I'm black. So every time something happens, because I'm black, I gotta stand up. What the fuck am I? Al Sharpton now? I'm ASAP Rocky. Oh, he said, I'm ASAP Rocky. I did not sign up to be no political activist. I don't want to talk about no fucking Ferguson and shit because I don't live over there. I live in fucking Soho and Beverly Hills. I can't relate. I'm in the studio. I'm in these fashion studios. I'm in these bitches' drawers. I'm not doing anything outside of that. That's my life. Right? Let me make sure I'm running. All right, cool. So he said, I'm not doing anything outside of that. That's my life. And he said, I just get upset. And what I was really trying to say, so later on, he went back on The Breakfast Club, another radio show interview, to clarify his statements, because obviously he got a lot of backlash from what I just read to you, right? And he says, I just get upset, and what I was really trying to say there was like, yo, I just hate when the bandwagon stuff start. I mean, how come you know Black lives only matter when the police takes them? Basically, he's saying why do Black Lives Matter only when a police officer takes them? And it should be Black Lives Matter even if a black person takes the life. You know what I mean? It should always matter. All lives matter. Now, obviously from that last one, I don't think he is aware of the whole all lives matter as a response to the Black Lives Matter thing. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. But I'm going to get to basically what's in the title. So his initial statement, it brings me to it. There was another incident like this with another rapper by the name of Young Thug, where they asked him about what he thought about policing in Ferguson or something to that nature. And his response was, he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know about it. He's like, leave that to the laws and the politicians and all them people. I just know I'm out here with this ice and tattoos and this and that, you know. And then the reporter asked a follow-up question and said, so you don't think it's rappers' responsibility to be speaking up on these things? And he said no. So I loved his answer and I loved ASAP Rocky's answer for the main reason that they're just telling the reality. They're just telling the reality. When he's telling you I'm in Soho, I'm talking about drugs, I'm talking about what, I think I missed a part. So I want to talk about the drugs I'm taking. I want to talk about being in the studio. I want to talk about all those things. That's the reality of what these people's lives are, right? And I would rather they do this, right? As soon as they get asked about these kind of questions, I want them to disengage, tell the truth that you don't know what you're talking about, and stop doing that. Stop even talking about that. Then we can keep them out of these conversations, because there was a while ago, I think the coach was Doc Rivers, but I can't remember. It was an NBA basketball coach, a black coach. And he was asked about some black issue, some black person getting shot or something like that. And he said, why do I have to respond to this? Basically kind of what A$AP Rocky was saying without the extra stuff. It was like, why do I have to respond to this? Is it because I'm black? Right? And it made me really think. I was like, dang, I felt like before that moment that, yeah, it's always our responsibility to speak on these things. But when I thought about that, I'm like, damn, the media does constantly run into our face with cameras and talk about the latest black political issue, the latest black political issue. And then all of these individuals who aren't even following politics are expected to respond to it. You know, and it made me think about it, because it's like, Why don't they never run up on Tom Brady and ask him, hey, how do you feel about your European people and Brexit going on in Europe? How do you feel about the freighters in the Mediterranean Sea being bombed and the possible imminent Iranian war? How do you feel about this white boy nationalist who just ran a crop duster plane into a government building? What's your opinion on that, right? They don't do that. And when you really think about it, right, you look at where all black people's attention is. They take the, you know, our attention is to our stars and all of these people. And I'm gonna check the comments in a minute, if there is any comments. I don't even know how many people watching. I'm just doing a video. But they check to see where all our energy is flowing, the stars or whatever, these people. They're not political. And then you notice they always go and ask them about these questions. How do you feel about the dude that got shot? How do you feel about the inequalities? How do you feel about whatever, right? So what it does is it places our consciousness always on these issues. We're always some type of victim. It's always about some type of inequality. And then they feed the people watching and they keep us within the consciousness of these things by what they ask people. Not only, and listen, this goes beyond just A$AP Rocky, Young Thug, Doc Rivers, and every single athlete entertainer that has no business speaking on politics that they keep asking about politics. This just goes period. Like whenever you see black people on TV, if you see them on some mainstream media show or you see them come in, think about it. Most of the time they're talking about some black person being shot. They're talking about this and that. They're not talking about Trump's sanctions against Iran. They're not talking about you know, the lack of growth in the French economy or whatever, just some regular world politics or some regular. Usually they're dealing with some type of black issue, like some negative issue against black people, and it keeps us locked in, you know? And I think the time needs to come where we spend less time criticizing the artists and these people, because everything he said was true. Politics is not his life. Now, do I agree with being a black person and disconnecting from what's happening that's wrong in Ferguson and all that stuff? Do I agree with that? Absolutely not. You know, what he said is completely ignorant. His stance is ignorant in the sense that he shouldn't speak on what he doesn't know, but he should support and never forget where you come from, in the sense of, like, just because you're in Beverly Hills, you shouldn't just be like, oh, well, I ain't concerned with that. You know, the proper answer is just like, you know, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but you know, I want to support anybody trying to help black people. That's it. You know, just don't speak on what you know, but don't like go against it. But I just like the fact that A$AP Rocky articulated that out loud, because what he said is the reality of what not just successful what most successful black people's kind of stance. And I don't mean successful in terms of like, you got to be in Beverly Hills with millions of dollars or something like that, but just successful enough to where you don't have to feel the lash as much as you used to feel it when you was in the hood, you know, or as much as you used to feel it before, or as much as people, because everybody hasn't been in the hood, but it's just as much as the everyday person dealing with the struggles of racism has to deal with it. A lot of people, they get away from that, they detach, and then they want to act as if they just kind of want to forget about it. They kind of want to detach. That's why when you look at people, right, look at the conscious people, the Pan-Africanists, or whatever, the people like me talking black, Tory on that black stuff. We're the outsiders. We're the minority. You know what I mean? We get mocked. They calling people hoteps and all these different things. They mock us, right? Because they're not on this political thing. They're not on that. They're going to mock us because we're doing too much. They just want to worry about whatever it is they want to worry about. And then when these hot topics come up, you've been living like A$AP Rocky the whole time before. You haven't been doing anything political. You've been laughing and joking and kikiing about the conscious community and all you niggas on that black stuff. That's how you've been living. That's the reality of how you've been living your life every day. You A$AP Rocky, but he gonna say it out loud. You just don't say it. See what I mean? You've been living that same life, but then when it comes time for some issue to pop up, you know, you're going to post on your computer and you're going to, you know, just basically jump on the bandwagon like what he was saying. Now, I don't think our people don't care when these things pop up. I just don't think we care enough to do something in the interim, aside from just having a an emotional response to this stuff. So what A$AP Rocky is saying is like, look, man, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna keep the same energy that I had before this news popped up and they pressed this, again, the media keeping our consciousness on us getting shot, keeping our consciousness on inequality, racism. What do you think about racism? What do you think about the dude getting shot? What do you think about inequality? They're asking basketball players and people that's not even following this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just because they know you watching, they're going to keep that. And we need to start being critical of that. We need to start criticizing the media for that. Why are you asking these people? And we have to stop accepting that. We need criticism of the people. It's like, listen, bro, if you're not studying and following politics, keep your answers very generic and just say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not the one to ask about that. That's it. You just say, hey, I support my people, but I don't really follow and study politics that closely, so I don't want to answer that, right? Or just something in that nature. We could come up with something, but basically stop speaking on what you don't know. So we need to criticize our people on that end, right? If they, you can even consider a lot of them our people. We need to criticize them, the entertainer that they always push in our face. But more importantly, we need to understand and criticize the media outlets, because what they're doing, they're really the ones taking point. The athlete or the entertainer is just kind of just along for the ride. They have to be in front of that camera for their job, and then they're being pounced on by a media source that knows better. They're either doing it to keep us in that mind frame, right, which is the more conspiratorial view, or you could say they're doing it just because it's the status quo and it gets more views and people are just more comfortable with it. Either way, it hurts us. We have to see that that's why it hurts us, right? So we can't just, I understand the backlash, and I'm not against the people that are rubbing it in his face. I'm not necessarily against you, because I think his stance was ignorant. I'm going to Facebook real quick, see if I can check my comments, if I have any. I think his stance was ignorant, So I'm not necessarily against the people that are going against it. Okay. So I don't have ain't no comments. Cool. So yeah, I'm not necessarily against the people that are going against it. I guess the only point that I wanted to make was, I think a lot of the people coming out in criticism are hypocrites, because you're only making an emotional response to these issues, and you're not really living a life or doing anything in the interim, in between these moments where the media tells you to be angry because something happened to X, this fill in the blank, whatever black person, right? In between that, you're living like A$AP Rocky. You're living a life that's completely devoid of any political engagement, civic engagement. You're not following these things. You're not doing this. You're making fun of the hoteps and the people that's on this pro-black political stuff too much. You're not becoming one of them. And then when A$AP Rocky comes out and just tells the truth and keeps it real and says really what you are doing, everybody wants to go against him, right? Now, people throwing it in his face now that he got arrested and he can see that this racism stuff is real. I have no problem with that. I think that's he needs to hear that. He needs to hear that, because what he's saying is ignorant. You can't disconnect, even if you live in Soho and Beverly Hills, you still can't disconnect yourself from what's happening to all black people, because that stuff is going to still impact you. It's still going to impact you. So you need to be connected. So yeah, I don't want to say I agree with what A$AP Rocky said, but I'll just say he is not alone. Other people won't keep it real and make the statement in the same way, but he is not alone. Apathy amongst black people due to comfort, which is basically what he has. He has a heightened version of that. Apathy because of comfort is essentially what he's talking about. I'm out here comfortable, I'm doing these different things, and that's what most black folks is on. Apathy but due to comfort. Black Americans. Apathy due to comfort, So I just really don't see the difference between what he's saying and what... Okay, so I guess it is. Somebody said always pointing fingers. Yeah, we always pointing fingers. But it's just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? Aside from the bandwagoning, the emotional issue, what are you doing to be civically engaged? Or are you contributing to anything, supporting anything political in the meantime between when the media tells you to? And if the answer is no, I don't see how much you can really be judging A$AP Rocky. And this is going to be the last point I make, is just like, and it's the same point, but it's like, why is it that people think, right? So we say ASAP Rocky needs to, you have a responsibility, you have privilege, and you know you should be worried about these things and black issues and all these kind of things, right? We put this responsibility on them. We say it's because, you know, they have a privileged position, so they need to be worried about it or whatever the case, right? But my thing is, man, we have to understand ASAP Rocky comes out of the same environment that you came out of, right? You create these individuals that make it big. They're coming from the same environment that you came from. So when we raise our kids, we don't necessarily teach them to be politically active, right? We're teaching them, first of all, to do sports, right? Anytime you run up on black boys, that's why 100% of black boys want to do sports, because we have such a sports consciousness. We want to groom everybody into sports, the boys, right? So we're teaching them that. We're teaching them, hey, man, you need to go to school, do the right thing, this and this and this. But there's no priority being put on civic engagement, right? Political activism, or just looking at ourselves as a people and working to increase that. There's nothing being put on that. That's not a part of the consciousness of the average black person. Again, like I told you, the hoteps and all this, you're pro-blacks, and these people that we get mocked for having a political interest in our people as a group. So the average person that's not what they're promoting, you know? So when you take these people, these are your future athletes, right? They're coming out of the culture what you're cultivating. They're coming out of that. And we're not cultivating no Malcolm X's. We're not cultivating any political activism. We're not cultivating that stuff. The average person is not cultivating that stuff beyond just an emotional outburst when the media tells you to have one. We're not cultivating that. So what do you expect for your elite people to do, right? What do you expect ASAP Rocky to do? You think when he gets some money and the whole world, he's a young black dude with a bunch of money, the whole world's kissing his ass. You think that that's somehow going to make him get politically active or understand this stuff, right? So you got to understand that what you cultivate is going to be what you create, right? You create these people. You know what I mean? So don't expect, when you're not conscious, you're not doing anything, and your excuse is that you're not as privileged as these people, or whatever excuse you want to make. Understand, you're creating the next person that you complain about. And making excuses about why you can't be politically active or do something beyond just emotional outbursts is the reason that it's going to continue to be that way. So don't expect to have anything different if you're not going to change what you're doing. Just because people become successful, it doesn't mean that they are going to become politically aware and responsible and do these things that you're not even doing or pushing for them to be done, right? So yeah, I don't think I have any more comments or anything. So yeah, now I'm gonna jump off of this thing, man. I just wanted to speak on that real quick. I ain't went live in a minute. I gotta start getting back up, start doing stuff. I've been kind of slacking, so I'm gonna see y'all later, man. Peace.